Hey friends, listen to that sound with me. Does that sound familiar to you? It sounds like ducks that are quacking. Remember that from a few weeks ago when I was down in Northampton, Massachusetts? Well, a couple weeks have passed and up here in Vermont it's starting to warm up. So, the same frogs that were active down in Massachusetts, that kind of frog is now active up here in Vermont. And that's who we're hearing. That's the sound of the wood frog. Let's see if we can get a close-up view of a wood frog. I hear them, but I don't see them, but I'm seeing something else. Right down here in the water, right in front of me, is another kind of animal that's related to a frog. Have any idea who it is? Let me give you a clue. Frogs are related to other frogs, and frogs are related to toads, and toads and frogs are also related to salamanders. And that's what I'm seeing right here. Come take a look with me. I just thought I'd give you a few tips if you're interested in maybe going out on an expedition and finding some of these red spotted newts and maybe catching them. Really simple equipment, but there are some things that are important to think about when we're handling any kind of a living animal. One is remembering that it's living, so we want to be really gentle. Here are the couple of things I brought with me today. Just a bucket and a net from my aquarium. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that your bucket is clean, and by clean I actually mean that it doesn't have any soap residue in it. If it was dirty, like dirt from outside, that would be okay. So the first thing I would do is come down by the water and get some water right inside my bucket, so that if I'm lucky enough to catch a salamander, then I have a really safe place to put it. Because since they're living in the water right now, when we catch them, we want to make sure we put them in that same type of environment. All right, and then with my net, I don't need a really big long net. I want to try and catch something that I can see, so I'm not just swinging my net around out there. So I have just a short handle net, and I'm going to look down here in the water and see if I can see some of those salamanders, and see if one of them might want to come to me. And there's one, my friends, right in my net. So then what I do is I stay low. I keep my net really close to my bucket. I put my hand underneath. I want to make sure, again, my hand is clean. And what I mean by clean is no soap or no hand sanitizer. Maybe I'll even just make sure it's a little bit muddy with pond water. I put it underneath the net. I gently tip it over. I lay my net down and check it out. Now I have a friend that I can spend some time watching to see how he moves, what shape he is, maybe what colors or patterns I notice on him. And I just want to look at it for a while. I want to watch what it's doing, notice how it's behaving, and see what I can notice about its physical characteristics. That just means noticing what it looks like. So come take a close look with me, and let's see what we can notice about our new friend. It's doing like a combination of walking and swimming. It has this long tail that seems to be helping to propel it through the water. And it's able to stay underwater for a really, really long time. Now I know that he uses lungs to breathe, but he also can take oxygen in right through his skin. And this water is cold enough that I think it's got a lot of oxygen in it. Oh my gosh, friends, you aren't going to believe this. I just found something else in my bucket that I didn't know was in my bucket, and it's not even a salamander. You have got to look at this. This is the craziest thing. I thought that this here was just a green blob of algae, but it's not. It's something entirely different, and it's something alive. So I'm going to reach down in and lift it up and see if we can get a closer look at it. It's not going to hurt me. And I wish I had brought another container with me to put some water in. What we have here is a little home built by an animal called a caddisfly. But the fly didn't build the home, the larva of the caddisfly built it. And it's not a fly like a house fly in your house. It's a really beautiful fly that lives out here in nature. And look closely at this amazing construction. All little twigs and bits of leaves and sticks that the caddisfly larva found in the pond was used to build this. Now, because I found this in the water, that's where it likes to live, and so I need to put it back down here. But as we're watching our salamander friend, we might notice, oh, I see a little head and 2 legs sticking out of that. Can you see that, friends? And it's crawling along the bottom of my bucket. This was such an excellent surprise. Oh, it seems a little bit interested in our salamander friend. Let's come back to him for a minute. So, some of the other things I notice about him is that he is a dark color on his back, mostly dark green and a little black. Oh, look at this. The 2 of them are checking each other out. I think they're going to mostly decide to stay separate from each other. I am going to go get my hands a little bit muddy from the pond so that is more comfortable for the salamander. And I'm going to lift him up in my hand for you to see him more closely. I'll be right back. All right, check this out. Look at these hands. They're all wet and dirt and mud, just like when this salamander was in the water. And because this friend can breathe with lungs, I am not so worried about having him out in the air as I was the caddisfly larva. And you know what? His little feet, his little toes on my hands feel really, really good. But do notice my hands. This is what I call clean hands when I'm out in nature. This is what a salamander would like to be on. So I'm noticing this dark color back, but see these red spots on it? That's how it gets its name, the red-spotted newt. And if I turn it over, do you see its belly is a lighter color? Oops, it does not want me to turn it over. Can you see that a little bit, friends, just from the side? So that is our red-spotted newt. Sometimes people call it an eastern newt. Either name is okay. And this little salamander was born in a pond, and it lived there for just a couple of months. And back then, it only could breathe using gills. But before it left the pond, it developed lungs. And then it lived on land, looking really, really different than this, for 3 or 4 or 5 years. And then it came back to the pond. So this friend in my hand is at least 3 or 4 or 5 years old. And when they come back to the pond, they can live in the pond for another up to 15 years. So that would mean they can grow to be about as old as 20 years old. Now, I don't think this one's that old because it's not especially big. But I was fortunate enough when I was just out on the dirt road to see what I call a red eft. And that is what this friend looked like before he came back to the pond. So let me show you him. And they're related to each other. I'll put this friend right back in the bucket. And the friend I found in the road is the same species of animal, but it's during the life stage where it lives on land. And so that's why I have it in a container with leaves and some dirt, because that is the environment it lives in when, oh my gosh, it's hiding so well. When it is called a red eft. Oh, take a peek right down here, you guys. Do you see him in my bucket? He camouflages really, really well with the leaves. And I would say, I'm gonna make a guess. I don't know if this is true, but I'm gonna make a guess that this one is probably ready to head back to the pond. It's a pretty good size one for a red eft, and it's not bright, bright orange. It's a little bit of a green color on its back. Again, with my pond clean hands, I'm gonna pick this friend up super gently. I'm actually gonna pick him up by the tail, just like that, and set him on my hand. And then we can watch him move around. Oh, look at that, how cute. His tail's curled right up by his face. And if you look closely, do you see those same red spots? They have a little bit of a black outline. And count those toes. It has 4 feet, just like the other one. And I think I am seeing 3 toes in the front. And I think I am seeing 4 in the back. And I'm going to have to look a little bit more closely to be sure. And I'm going to make my hand a little bit wetter because it's drying out. And you know what kind of a cool thing is? I've never done this before, friends, but I'm going to hold one of each in each hand so that you can see them next to each other. Oh, I guess they both want to be in the same hand or crossing over into opposite hands. And I'm sitting down on the ground while I do this, and I would advise you to do the same thing, because if a salamander, if a slippery little salamander hops out of your hand like that one just did for me, then they're not too far from the ground and they won't get hurt. If I was standing, it would have been a bigger fall. So when they have red skin, they live on the land. And when they're in the water, it changes to this darker green color. Some people think that the red skin is a sign for other animals to not eat it because it's kind of poisonous. And some people think that the dark color, when they're in the water, helps them to camouflage so that animals might not notice them in the water. This was not what I expected to find at all with you friends today. I thought we were going to see some wood frogs because we heard the same sound that we heard a couple weeks ago. And it's a great sound to listen to. But we had some surprise visitors today. The 2 red-spotted salamanders, and do you remember this guy down here? That one right there. I'll try and get him in the sun for you so you can see him. The larva that built a house all the way around himself, it's called a caddisfly larva. So my friends, maybe you will head out on this beautiful day, or you know what? Salamanders actually like rainy days, so if it's not a beautiful day when you see this and it's raining, don't worry about it. Salamanders love that kind of weather. And take a walk in the woods or along the road. You might find a friend like our red eft, or if you have a pond near you, and maybe you have a bucket, maybe you have a net, like the one I had or something like that, maybe you'll head out to a pond and you'll make some new friends today. I'd love to hear who you meet, who you find, and what some of your discoveries are. Take care, friends. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. If you have enjoyed this video, please visit our website to learn more about what we do and consider making a donation.